Hello and welcome back to the aquarium. We are live at MovinOn 2018. I am now lucky enough to be inside the booth with Anand Mahurkar, the founder and chairman of Findability Sciences. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Alex. Thank you for having me.
You have this wonderful turn of phrase where you talk about data being the new soil, and you talk about the paradigm shift in the way that businesses interact with data. What's your perspective on it? Tell me.
So, Alex, personally, I have worked in the information technology industry for more than 20 years. We always dealt with structured data first. If you see last 3 decades, every single software which we have is based off structured data. It has rows and columns, and it is structured data. But what has happened phenomenally last 7 years, particularly from 2008, 2009 onwards, there's a dramatic shift of creating unstructured content. So it's a big departure from what humans did on this earth for 1,000,000 years. So what content we created probably 1,000,000 or 2,000,000 years we are on this earth, and what content we created in last few years is almost same. And the content is unstructured content. You can't put it into a database. It's images, pictures, videos, text messages, blogs, emails, Word documents. You can just keep naming on it.
Right.
And it has democratized. The knowledge of creating that content is no more with some people who understands computer or who can use the keyboards. I hail from India, and you can imagine that there's a large population of people who are underprivileged, if I want to call it as. But today, if you go there, they have smartphones in hand, and even if they are not educated, they know how to operate a keyboard. They know how to create an English word out of a vernacular word and communicate. So that unstructured content is really now a new soil, because you can really come out with a lot of analytics based on that data. You can understand human emotions. You can understand their sentiments. You can understand personalities of people. You can understand number of things from that unstructured content. And when I said that there's a paradigm shift happening with businesses, that if I can now combine that structured data, which we have been using for last 3 decades, with this unstructured data, there's a tremendous shift, because you never knew what happened outside an organization. If you are taking an organization as an example, because there was no opportunity, there was no technology, or there was no data created outside your firewalls, which really impacts you. So for example, let's take a consumer business. In consumer business, if a consumer is creating content outside the organization, we never knew that. But now we have an opportunity to connect it and know my consumers better than what we knew in the past. So that's a paradigm shift into how the businesses are conducted.
That's amazing. Okay, so now let's talk about how to leverage that and how Findability Sciences does that. What are you enabling?
So let's talk about the transportation, logistics, mobility. Let's take a simple example. With the now overwhelming population of drones, okay, which are helping logistics or helping transportation or helping infrastructure.
Right.
One of our customer with whom we are doing a proof of concept is the drones can be sent for a bridge. Like I can send on a bridge and take pictures from various angles and see if there is a crack in that bridge. Earlier, all this inspection was done manually and you have to send workers and see it. But now there is a unstructured content I can create by sending a drone and take really high definition images. But then you don't stop there, because once I have images and I can see there is a crack in a bridge, and it is a 2 millimeter wide and 3 millimeter deep, but I need to predict now what's going to happen with this crack. Will it stay like this for next 10 years? Will it go bad? Will the bridge collapse? Whatever it is. So if you can now take that data, the unstructured data, through the images, and then apply the artificial intelligence, where I can now predict through that image that probably this bridge has life of next 3 years, or it needs fixation tomorrow. So that's the implication on businesses. So I am taking unstructured content, I am taking the structured content from the past while constructing the bridge, combining that and applying the algorithms where I can now predict that this bridge may need a maintenance in next few weeks.
Okay, that's a fascinating example. Is that this combination of gathering the data, interpreting it, and AI? I mean, this is something that obviously you're able to combine in a very near-term way. Is this further off? How much are we using this?
We are doing it today.
Okay, amazing.
Okay. And it's I think what I say is that the future is already there. It just dispersed in a different. It's not evenly dispersed. So there are some sectors or segments or businesses who are really far ahead in doing it. And I run this company for now 8 years, and we have seen our customers are using the technology in a far more impactful way to solve today's problems. So it's no more a future; it's already there.
That's amazing. Does that mean that our how do you couple that with a vision of the future then? For example, if you're already having this kind of impact right now, what do you imagine that? How do you imagine that scaling?
See, what I say is what humans are gifted on this earth, other than all other living beings, is about memory and imagination. Okay, that's the only two things which are we have different than other animals on the earth.
Right.
Now, what we are trying to do as humans is trying to bring this to computers. Okay, because that's our intuitive inclination to bring that memory and imagination to a machine, and that's what we are calling it as a artificial intelligence. I think memory part is pretty much taken care of. We can now store a lot of data which the human brain cannot store or remember. We have now surpassed that. Like I can store 10 years of data in a machine and can get an answer in 3 milliseconds, which humans now has that limitation, which we have now surpassed. So memory is pretty much taken care of now. So our computing systems have now tremendous memory, and we can do computation on top of it in order to produce the result. The second part is imagination. I think we're still not at there. Machines cannot really imagine for us. So today you and me can sit here and imagine what can happen tomorrow, right? We just think about it. We can dream about it. We can actually do that visualization in your mind.
Right.
I think machines are yet to go there, and we all and the scientists on the earth are really working very hard to get that second aspect of humanity, which is the imagination, to the machines.
Wow.
I think that is still left out for future.
Wow, is that something that how much do you incorporate that into the mission and vision of findability sciences?
We do, and therefore there is a limited imagination which I can say that we are able to successfully do it is called predictive analytics,
Right.
which I think most of the organizations and everybody's talking. Because I think gone are those days of me knowing what happened to my business or what happened to what I'm doing. That's called reports, that's called analytics, that's called business intelligence. There are different definitions of all what we do it from the stored data.
Right.
But now are the days where every business leader, right from political to business to any person, is really interested in knowing what's going to happen to me and not what happened. So it's not about how much revenue I did last quarter, how much revenue I'm going to make the next quarter. So that's a sort of a imagination. It's a very small component of imagination, which is the predictive analytics. So at Findability Sciences, we have a very unique algorithm, which is a self-learning algorithm. It learns from the historic data, like a human brain, because how we predict something, right? If you predict that this interview is going to go well because you watch my videos and you say this guy really does good interviews, right?
Right.
So that's how you predict it because of your past data or the memory.
Right.
So the machines also can now do it, and the predictive analytics which we have is self-learning from the historic data. That's number one. Number two, it is fully automatic. You don't really need a domain expert to sit down and say, okay, train a machine and get the output out of it. The self-learning algorithm automatically predicts the small component of imagination of human brain is that what might happen. The example I gave you for bridge, right?
Right.
So with this crack, with this much of depth and this much of length, what will happen to this bridge? Automatically the system can understand. It doesn't need any civil engineering knowledge. It doesn't need any bridge construction knowledge. Just by merely studying the data patterns, it can predict that this is probably going to happen at this probability percentage.
Wow.
So we very much do that imagination part on a small side at Findability Sciences.
That's amazing. Are there obviously we're talking about mobility a lot in transportation. Are there sectors where you're focusing? Is it really all over the map in terms of industries?
I think in a way it's all over the map, and I preach this, and we continuously have this debate that gone are again days of computing where it was a domain specific computing. Okay?
Right.
So I had a healthcare application, I had a transportation application, because those were very vertical specific applications, you needed the knowledge. But now data is data, right? Whether I'm getting a data from a freight cart, or I'm getting a data from a cell phone tower, or I'm getting a data from IoT devices, it's all data. It's a numbers, it's a data which I can put it into rows and columns. And I don't really care because I'm talking about the data patterns, and the data patterns is what the system need to understand. So our applications are more horizontal. We can pretty much try to solve problems into various verticals, and today we serve retail, petrochemical, transportation, infrastructure, many others such verticals. So the data applications are really horizontal, and I would say that increasingly you would notice that when it is something to do with data, there is no verticalization of the solutions which come from companies like us. It's more horizontal.
That's amazing. So you mentioned just before we started this interview, yes, you are now a Softbank company, or there's a joint venture with Softbank that you announced late last year. And this is about a scale in terms of like what you can offer. Tell me about this, the joint venture.
So actually, Softbank initially became our distribution partner, because what Softbank saw into our technology is that horizontal nature which I was talking about.
Right.
And as you know, Softbank core business is telecom. They generate a lot of data, and telecom is now the backbone of every single data infrastructure which we have. And Softbank's vision and dream is about getting into the data solutions or AI solutions with this whole technology bandwidth they have in terms of mobility or mobile applications. So when they initially became the distributor for us in North America, they started selling our solutions to their existing customers, and the reactions were very, very good. Very useful solutions. The return on investment is very rapid. That really led them to offer us to form a joint venture in Japan. And we are very honored. Probably when I had my first meeting with the executives at SoftBank, I said that you're forming world's largest company is forming joint venture with one of the world's smallest companies. But it was more sort of a marriage of technologies and a vision than the size of the company. So yes, we have a joint venture in Japan, where now SoftBank owns the joint venture 51% and Findability Sciences 49%. We have taken our technology from US to now Japan, and we are selling into all the Japanese customers, because as I said, it's horizontal. So practically the SoftBank salespeople can take it to various markets and sell it very effectively. And as I said, really it's very, very touching to see that there is a business impact of what we do. There is a tangible result, because as you rightly asked the question whether this whole AI and big data is a future, is it still in laboratories? But no, it's really, you can put it on the ground and make very meaningful applications out of it and use it for day-to-day business. So this joint venture is selling into Japan, and we are very, very happy and excited with the opportunities in front of us. In just last 4 months, we have this joint venture and a team on the ground. We have 100+ customers talking to us very actively in implementing the solutions.
That's amazing. As a last question, any prediction on the future of mobility? Any hope that you have at the top of your head?
I think, yeah, the hope is that it's dramatically going to change. Okay, the way the businesses were operating in the past are not going to be any more the same way, whether it is logistics, whether it is transportation, and we see it on a day-to-day basis in terms of what changes are coming into it. All are going to be data driven, and I'm not saying it only because I'm in that business, but we all know that data is the new oil which drives now the mobility.
Right.
The decisions ranging from pricing to distribution to logistics to time frame to people, everything is going to be based on data. And the cognitive analytics is going to be another important dimension to it, which is basically processing the unstructured content and then using it into the mobility. Just take an example. If I have a customer for transportation, I can know now that customer persona very well, cognitive persona,
right,
and can tailor my solution based on the needs and values of that individual or that corporation. You can go up to that level, and that is going to impact seriously on the business of mobility.
Amazing. Quite a future. Thank you so much. This has been live from the aquarium at Movin'On. The founder and chairman of Findability Sciences, Anand Mahurkar. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for having me.